Welcome back to the Battery Podcast. I'm Aidan,
And I'm Jack.
and we are here to recap for the final time in the regular season, the Cannons game from this past weekend, where they took down the Chaos 11 to 10 in overtime. Was a late one. I think the final goal was scored at about 1 a.m. Eastern. But for those of you who stayed up or those who watched it the following morning without spoiling it by going on Instagram, it was an absolute thriller. So. Jack, what are your initial thoughts from this game?
Unreal. I don't know. Truth be told, I was not awake at 1 a.m. Um, However, I did rewatch it the next morning and wow,
Yeah.
what a game. And I am just so excited that we're gonna get this rematch at Gillette in 2 weeks because that should be so much fun to just have these two teams go right back at it.
Yeah. So we'll definitely cover all the playoff matchups a little bit later, but I think, the most interesting one for us, obviously, the Cannons and Chaos will be meeting again on Labor Day in Foxborough, which you're right, is just going to be electric to have. I mean, the Chaos are already, I feel like a lot of the neutral people still kind of like the Chaos because, Andy Towers is such a character. Blaze Reardon's incredible. Josh Byrne is so fun to watch, though he's having a bit of a down year. Um, and then they got such great personalities in the defensive end too with Rowlett and Newman. McKay's obviously been making a name for himself for better or worse this season, especially. Um, yeah, and then I mean to have the crowd behind them, which Coach Holman rather said, like he's
Right.
really looking forward to that. And we'll definitely bring the juice.
Yeah. And I think not only just the neutral fans behind the chaos, but Carolina is essentially representing all of the South.
Yeah,
So if
that's true.
you're a Georgia fan, a Florida fan, something like that, you're probably just going to go with Carolina until like Atlanta or Miami or whatever get a team, but
Yeah, which is a
they're
ways
the
away.
de facto South team. So
Yeah,
you
that is
probably
a
have
very
that
good point.
too.
Yeah, so
So
if you wanted to make like go to a national park or whatever in Utah and happen to coincide, I'd say they probably did have a good number of fans, both from before the cities were announced and like you said, they're representing a much greater region than any of the teams north of them on the East
right.
Coast. Um, I wonder how that is out west, with Utah, Denver, and California. Um,
Mm.
because there are actually a good number of players from Oregon. But anyway, we're getting way
That
far
that
afield.
yeah. No, let's back to the game.
Yeah, back to the
That
game.
game was yeah, I mean, so I feel like there's so much to unpack from the game, just the ebbs and flows, but also just from the strategical standpoint, Pat running out of the box,
Yeah,
as we talked about off air. Uh, Chris Az and Campbell both playing down low.
at attack, not defense.
Yes, sorry,
Yeah,
yes, and
and
just
then
what were the other ones that you're saying that you caught? The
yeah, so Pulver was playing close defense. Cade Van Raphorst was playing LSM,
Yep.
which if Keelty hadn't gotten hurt, I think Van Raphorst would have been playing LSM, and then Pulver. I mean, he and Pulver might have like switched, some being scratched or protected roster for the other. So
Mhm.
that one definitely not as radical, but to see especially Campbell playing attack when his whole thing and Islanian as well. Campbell's just had more of them like goals this year, but especially the 2 pointers. Um,
Well, and Campbell is very well might be the midfielder of the year.
yeah,
And
I
all
think
of a
there's a
sudden he's playing attack in the last game of the year. Like,
Yeah, you hope that didn't sabotage. I mean, he wasn't there all game, but yeah, I think I don't know exactly. We'll probably talk about that. I don't know exactly when the awards will be announced, but that's definitely a good like bye week conversation to have. Uh,
mhm.
yeah, that was and I think part of that was probably just testing things out. Really, unless like I think they wanted to win to have that higher seed. But unless you win by like 15, you're not gonna be the 1 seed. So you don't really have to worry about that. And I don't think you want to worry too much about your opponent in the playoffs. It's not like home field advantage is up for grabs. So um with having a
Well, they already knew they had home
right.
field.
Yeah, that's true. They have home field advantage no matter what seed they are. So, um, it really is prime territory to experiment with some new wrinkles in the lineup. And I think it was definitely more about seeing Pat in the midfield than seeing Campbell or Islani in an attack. Um,
True.
because that does take away one of their biggest assets, which is their ability to shoot from range. Not that I mean we've seen Holman have plenty of 2-pointers this year as well. Um, but that was definitely um something that surprised me out of and I obviously understand why Holman didn't mention that to us when he was on the podcast last week, but um very unexpected to see those like not to see Pat out of the midfield, but to see Holman and or see Campbell and Islanian down low.
Mhm.
Um Other big story is this is now the third week in a row, the third game in a row, rather, because there was a bye week in the middle. The third game in a row where an opposing star player has gotten injured in their game against the Cannons. And actually, it was two this week. So in San Diego, we had Bernhardt, I think, dislocating his shoulder. I'm not sure if the full thing was ever made public. Uh,
Mhm.
the week after that, we had Tucker Dordevic breaking his jaw on, I think it was Van Rapport's shoulder, which not definitely not malicious. That was more just he was kind of falling down, caught him at the wrong side, and then
Well, trainer also kind of pushed him from
oh
behind.
yeah, so yeah. Again, I mean, I certainly there was no malicious intent in any of these. It was just catching a guy in a bad spot. But the fact that it's happened 3 games in a row now because we had the bye week, and then this past game we had Blaze Reardon leaving the game, and I think it was the second quarter after taking a
Yeah.
shot to the nether regions, like literally a shot, not like a punch or a kick or whatever. I don't remember who shot it. Um, it might have been Campbell, or I mean, just someone from like right up top where he makes the
Mhm.
save, he kind of clamps down on the ball, and then very clearly is like he's not getting up. And then I think this was in the third quarter. I we should have checked. But Rowlett goes to close out on a shot from it was on the righty wing, so I assume it was Holman. Takes the shot off the side of the head, also goes down, stays down. Yeah, no, this must have been the second quarter because he came out a little bit, but then at halftime was on the sideline with his helmet off. So you got to assume he has a concussion there.
Mhm.
So Cout comes in, and then the Chaos are left with 4 poles, and they had actually a guy, Posey, whose his name did not ring a bell at all for me. I wonder if Jack, if you had heard of him at all. Um,
Posey.
yeah,
I know Buster Posey.
yeah, it's definitely not
I
the
don't think that's
tired
him though.
Jack Posey, number 43, who obviously he's actually played 3 games this year. He played against the Water Dogs, he played against the Whips on in Fairfield, and then this was his third game of the year. Um,
Where's he from? How old is he?
he's a rookie.
Okay.
Um, he is from Penn. He graduated from Penn this year. He's from Virginia originally.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't know him.
So you're left
Undrafted, I
with,
assume then.
hmm?
Undrafted, right?
I
I
believe
think I
so,
would have
yeah.
heard, I think I would have remembered his
Yeah,
name
well,
if
you
he
were
came
there.
out of the draft. I was there.
Yeah. So you had what? Bowen, Rowlett, Ray, and Posey as your only polls for the rest of the game, which is very tiring. Uh,
Yeah.
Basically, especially for the LSM having to run back and forth between the box. I assume they rotate a little bit with like Posey and Ray.
Hmm.
But no shade to Austin Kaut, who's a phenomenal goaltender, but you lose the goalie of the year um, in Blaze, which well, I assume Blaze at least is going to be back for the game in Foxborough in a couple weeks.
I think he is. I think I heard that on the broadcast. They were saying that this is that he is was obviously out for the game, but that it's not
Yeah,
expected to be anything serious or long term.
yeah. I mean, obviously, I think as most men know, that is a very painful injury, and but yeah, unless there's some other kind of complication, it shouldn't be super long lasting. Rowlett, I mean, obviously concussions can go any which way. He could be fine tomorrow. He could be done in for 6 months. Like, you know, obviously we wish him all the best and would love to see, you want to see the best players out there.
Yeah,
Um, but that's tough.
it
Um,
is. You know what this reminds me of is the Celtics playoff run.
oh yeah.
How they the best player every series until the finals kept getting hurt and people were like throwing shade
Yeah.
on the Celtics or saying that I don't know if anyone was saying that they were yeah,
People
there was
definitely
never
said
any
the
talk
Celtics.
about people saying that the Celtics were like doing something, but it
No.
like they were throwing shade on them like, oh, it doesn't count. It's like you play the cards you're dealt. Like
Yeah, they
the
had
Celtics have no control over it and they mop the floor with teams.
yeah,
Like they still deserve that championship. So like that's my one fear is that I don't think definitely like the two shots in this game obviously are
no.
unintentional. People can be like, "Oh, Jeff Trainer pushed Dordovic from behind," but like that was a freak thing with
Yeah.
Van Raphorst there. I don't think Campbell was trying to hurt
No.
Bernard against the Outlaws, but I'm just worried about the storyline that's going to come out of it just because that happened to people. Oh, are the
Especially with
Cannons
champs.
dirty? Yeah.
Yeah.
Are the Cannons a dirty team? Oh, like they don't deserve to win because
Yeah.
they just hurt or even if like you're able to quell the whole like there's nothing intentional about it like in this game it's like well they would have lost if they had XYZ. I'm like, well, they didn't have them though. And guess
Yeah.
what? That's life.
Right.
like like the Cannons didn't choose for Blaze and Rowlett to go down. I'm pretty sure on both of those shots they would have rather scored.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
Like I don't know.
Yeah, then the
Just a
game doesn't go
random
to overtime. The
tangent.
Cannons win
Like
anyway.
yeah. I just want to get out ahead of it and say that like I don't want to hear any of that from
No.
anyone.
Yeah, absolutely not. And again, I mean, hopefully, yeah, hopefully they're both good to go in
Right.
the quarterfinals. Hopefully everyone stays healthy in that game.
Exactly.
Yeah. However, usually we'll do the other games at the end. I just want to mention we did also see a pretty significant injury in another game where,
We did.
yeah, so Tom Schreiber out for the year with a broken collarbone. That happened in the first quarter of their
Of the
game,
first
of
game.
the first game against the Redwoods. So they're obviously down a guy for most of that game, and then they can replace him. They replace him in game two with Ryan Ogden. Um, but Schreiber's production certainly hard to live without. Um, and interestingly, this has happened before in 2019. I believe he dislocated his shoulder in the playoff game against the Redwoods.
Hmm.
Um, and the Archers did go on to lose that game. And then the Woods obviously go to the championship final. So interesting that
Right.
Schreiber's had a shoulder injury in a pretty significant game. Obviously, this one not as important as um
2019.
yeah, as a playoff game. And also that it happened against the Redwoods both times, but
Yeah,
uh which
that is interesting.
yeah.
But
Uh,
yeah,
yeah.
back to the Cannons. What else from this game?
Well, we got to talk about the winning goal.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was just gonna say. My man Drenner, you
Yeah.
know, he's I love Ryan Drenner. We've talked about it before, just the way that he's changed his game from going from X attack to a midi and just how gritty and tough he plays. But I don't think he's had his best season this
No.
year. So it's that can obviously be a grind if you're not playing up to his obviously high standards. But the fact that he's just stuck with it and done whatever this team needs all year and really his whole career,
Yeah.
obviously, and just to get an absolute, just the grittiest of goals,
Yeah.
just whack, whatever. Like,
Yeah.
oh,
And
that
I
is electric
yeah.
factory.
I loved hearing him talk in the post game too, that he's like the coach has been preaching like next play always. And he's like, I know Matt Campbell's stepping in from like 12 yards. No one's catching that. So he's already ready for the rebound. And you see him basically like he gets out of the way so the shot doesn't hit him. And then he's immediately ready to hop on. And he kind of kicks the ball with one foot.
Yeah,
He
well, I
out.
think it. I think the shot technically did hit him after, like the
Yeah.
rebound hit
Yeah, so
him
it hit
and it
Cowden
bounced
like the
off,
chest. It hit Drenner maybe
like
somewhere
in the
else. It goes off
knee, I
his foot.
think.
He kicks it to the side, and then he and Cow both dive for it. He basically it's like half golf shot, half like baseball swing, half tomahawk
It's
chop.
it's
Uh,
just like that. You know what it reminds me of was the the Bergeron diving goal in the 2011 Stanley Cup Finals or
yeah,
something like that. Just like laying out and just swinging your stick and hoping that it goes in.
yeah. Oh my God. It's yeah. There's no way you can like plan. That's definitely just throw it in the vague direction of the net.
Yep.
I think it bounced off Cout in some way, shape, or form. And
Hmm.
just trickles in. There was no other defender close enough. And like,
Yeah.
what a way to end your regular season.
Oh, so awesome. And talking about goals that just don't make sense. How about that Chris Eslanian goal
Oh
where
yeah,
he came in and just like doink, like hit, like jumping, getting hit, and like it was like I don't even know if he did that on purpose. Like, did the ball just fall out of his stick and then you watch the slow and you're like, no, I think he did
yeah,
intentionally throw that at the net, but just in real time it looked so awkward and weird. Just
yeah. I didn't
crazy.
I didn't get to see if someone asked him on the sideline right after that, if he had done that on purpose. But I would love to get him to answer that because I really you don't know. Like he's holding his stick at the right way and someone hits him in the right way that it could have
Yeah,
just been an accident. Um,
right.
yeah, amazing. Um,
Um,
fantastic. Another
what else?
somewhat noteworthy story is the chaos not cut, but like don't put on the active roster Nick Rowlett, their faceoff specialist. They signed
Right.
James Riley earlier this week.
Hmm.
Um, so he goes 50%, 12 for 24. Tucci actually, I think this is his first game above 50% since week 3 against the Water Dogs. He goes 13 for 24 because we had a couple of violations in there. Um, but yeah, it was a great battle back and forth, obviously, between the two of them all day. I'm definitely curious to see because that performance doesn't wow you. But let me just pull up Nick Rowlett's rather stats for the year, because he's obviously not been wowing, which is why the Chaos went and signed someone else. Which I think the Red Legion guys mentioned. Here we go, teams. I'm just forgetting how to look up the stats for a second here. Um, that Rowlett did not have a huge.
No, yeah, they were talking about that
Oh,
last week.
Rowlett's
That
36% on the year.
okay, that is not great.
No, and you figure, I mean, he is going against. Well, Sitzberger's been a little up and down. Obviously, no one's gonna win against.
Well, he had to face off against TD Ireland twice,
Yeah, that's
so
right.
that's gonna hurt.
Yeah.
Luke Weirman had a couple of
Hmm.
was solid. Obviously, Nardella and Baptiste.
Yeah. So he
So,
was he was actually 60% against the Archers, which is one of those down points against Sis. 52 against the
mm,
Dogs against Stathicus.
yep.
Um, and then those are the only games he's been above 50. He's been in the 30s. He was actually 26% against TD in their second game, 36 in the
Wow.
first game. The Atlas, he was 28. So and then
Yep.
he didn't play against the Cannons. So you gotta, it's definitely not a stat line that'll keep your job, especially if, I
Nope.
mean, again, who knows how Riley does against Erlin and Baptiste in those games. Again, you don't expect anyone to go 50% against the two of them,
No.
or Nardella, but um, it's 50-50 enough for Riley to be dressed in 2 weeks? Probably, unless they also had the questionable logo, like the injury thing on Rowlett, so maybe that was a factor as well. If he's
I
fully,
think it was. Yeah.
yeah,
And
yeah, the guy's not
so
giving you 50-60%, and you can get that production clearly from someone else.
right. Yeah, it'll be interesting to talk to the Red Legion guys. Hopefully, we can have them back
Yeah,
on next week to preview that playoff matchup, get their thoughts on how this game went, how what they think adjustments need to be made for that game, what they think about the face-off, stuff like that. But I
that's
guess we
really
can,
fun that you wind up. I
yeah,
mean, I think it's happened in other sports certainly.
yeah,
Play a team like last game of the regular season and then in the playoffs. Um, I can't think of a time it's happened again in the PLL. It must have because there's so few teams.
It
Uh,
has to have.
yeah, and obviously you get the Champ Series
Yeah,
where who knows. Which is
but
another thing, just briefly mentioning. So Cannon's back in the Champ Series. They'd already clinched it, but now we know for sure it's Atlas, Cannons, Archers, and Whipsnakes
right.
will be the four teams we'll see in February.
Yep.
So excited for that.
East
Another,
East showing out.
yeah, three of the four teams from the East.
Yeah.
Which I guess once the Whips went on that winning streak, we kind of knew from the math that,
Right.
yeah, once they went 6-4, the best any one team in the West could go 6-4, and all the rest would be 5-5 or worse. So,
Mhm.
I was really hoping to see the Outlaws because, man, Brennan O'Neill in sixes and Bundy too. Like how we saw Romar Dennis like
Yeah.
pull up from midfield. I would so love to see Graham Bundy do that as well. Like
True.
all of Holman's two pointers are like high bouncers. I don't think any of Bundy's are. I think he's literally just like, screw you. I can go high to high at 105 miles an hour. And it
Yeah.
works.
Well, maybe well, I guess it would be 2026 because next Champ Series is 2025.
Yeah.
But like it,
They'll get
that
there.
Outlaws team was up and down this year, a lot of rookies, so I would not be shocked if they took a step forward in
Yeah.
2025 and got into the top four teams, but maybe that's a
That's an off-season
off-season
conversation. Yeah.
topic. Other thoughts on the game? Marcus passing Ryan
Oh yeah.
Boyle for
Yep.
sixth all time in points. I think he and Asher combined for 10 points, I believe it was.
Yeah.
Marcus
Asher
had
had
4 goals.
and Asher had six
Asher had
points.
2 and 4. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So that was
Especially
that
after,
duo is just so good.
yeah, after Marcus went pointless a week ago, to see him
Mhm.
recover and put up a solid performance where it was it 3-1 for him, or was it 4-0, like goals and assists?
Today or like this weekend.
Yeah,
Marcus, it was 4 goals, no
4 goals. Yeah.
assists.
All right. Yeah.
As Marcus,
No, I didn't
that's
think.
like Alex Haas said at the All-Star game. It's Marcus doesn't assist much.
No, he
He
doesn't.
just
And
he,
yeah,
I mean, Asher said it in the
best shooter
post
of
game
all time.
presser, best shooter in the world.
Yep.
And can't hard to argue. I mean, definitely the most accurate.
Yep.
So
Yeah, we know that. It's well
yeah,
established.
yeah. So
Yeah, can't
yeah, I
wait.
mean, but those two, some of those passes, all that pass. I don't think it was on a Marcus goal. I forget who was down low, but Asher was up top and threw a no look pass to someone down floating around the crease. He was like Asher was up top and sort of looks more to the middle of the field and then just dishes it off down low. Ooh, that was pretty.
Yeah.
I
His
liked that.
ability as a feeder is like, we all obviously we talk about him as a Dodger and as the big guy, but his
Mhm.
ability to, like, he draws so much attention and he's so, like, remember the Whips, he had 6 assists. This one he has 4.
Yeah.
He is such a good passer that, especially when he's on as a Dodger too, because I think he's definitely nursing an injury, and hopefully this bye week is a chance for him to get a little healthier.
Yep.
Because when his like, I think it's a lower body injury, when his legs are at full strength, he
Ooh.
is scary because you can't really stop him from getting to his spot at GLE.
Mhm.
If you slide to double, then he will absolutely find, whether it's Pat Cav, Drenner, Holman, like whoever.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, cannot wait I mean, to see them in person again is just going to be electric.
Yeah.
That crowd is
Well,
going to be nuts.
yeah. I mean, Brian talked about it with us. He talked about
Yep.
it at the post game presser. He talked about how he talked about it with us. I mean,
Yep.
so gonna bring the juice.
Yep.
Um, I was about to move on, talk about the playoffs a little bit, or ask you if you want to say anything. But I guess one more thing that I just want to mention about this game, and then if you have anything else as well, that little hezzy goal that Pat Cav had,
Yeah.
woo, coming
Yeah. It
across
was.
top. Pat's feeling himself. He's just wait till next year. He's gonna be fully
Oh,
healthy, have a whole off season to recover and get ready. Oh, Pat Cav is gonna be so much fun to watch
yeah.
in 2025 and for
And
years to come.
we get to see him in sixes this winter. Unless he decides
Oh,
to try to play in the
oh,
NLL.
that will be good. No,
Yeah,
I think Pat's
I
going
think so too.
sixes.
Yeah.
That'll be cool.
So
That'll be
yeah,
cool.
I'm definitely looking forward to like our January episode or something where we predict all the Sixers rosters.
Oh yeah.
That'll be fun, man.
Yeah.
I'm so mad we
Oh,
can see Brennan O'Neill, but we'll
uh,
see it in a year or two, I'm
we'll
sure.
we'll see a lot of good
Yeah.
stuff this year.
Also, just Chaos, the only team never to make Champ Series so far in 3 years.
Interesting.
Yeah, because they
Hmm.
always have those slow starts because they had like the entire Buffalo Bandits roster who had to play until the NLL championship at the end of June every year,
Hmm.
and
Oh
then
yeah, you know what? Good point.
yeah,
Good point.
like Josh Byrne, Dane Smith, Clint Frazier, Ryan Kluche, Ryan Smith. No, Ryan Smith actually doesn't play for the Bandits, but those four guys, who was most of their
Mhm.
offense, all play for the Buffalo
Right.
Bandits. Ian McKay. So we'll see if they can. I definitely want to see them there.
Hmm.
But we have to wait at least another year. So yeah, with that, let's switch to the other games. So we mentioned Schreiber going down the first game of the weekend against the Redwoods. However, they do manage to hold on. I think against any other team, maybe they don't, which is really mean to say. Um, but that one goes to overtime. It looks like the Redwoods have scored the game winner. It goes to review because it's a game-winning goal, obviously. Still in the I don't even remember who the shooter was, but still in the shooter stick when the shot clock hits 0. So it's a turnover, goal doesn't count, and then of course the Archers go down and score. But it's rookie Jack Van Overbeek in his first game of the year. He scores,
Wow.
yeah, he scores one goal earlier on the game. It's behind the back. What a way to get your first career goal. Uh, and then I believe he comes around from X, gets the game winner. So congratulations to him. I mean, that's what a way to make your debut, especially at homecoming where you got 5,000 plus people all cheering for you.
Hmm.
So really happy for him. That officially eliminates the Redwoods, which I think we knew was going to
No.
happen. Um, Cannon's game, obviously, we talked about the rest of day one. Day two,
Saturday.
yep, the Water Dogs somehow managed to beat the Atlas. Um,
I
in
said it on the pod with Red Legion. I was like, watch the Water Dogs lose all these one goal games and then just somehow find a way to
yeah,
beat the Atlas by one in the last game. And lo and behold, like that is just so PLL.
yeah,
That is so
perfect.
PLL.
I will say, like, obviously, if you ask the Atlas, they would say they didn't take anything off, and they definitely didn't. They were trying to win. It was far from their best game. Like, if that team shows up in the semifinals, they're going to get clobbered.
Mm.
No Schellenberger, so that was tough. We saw Docs Aiken down at attack for a lot of that game. So just his coach is doing some weird lineup things today. And then Peyton Cormier, who'd been out of the line, like struggled the first couple weeks because of visa issues. He's Canadian, and then finally gets in with Schellenberger out, his college teammate. But he reminded us all why he set the record for most goals in Division One. He had, I
The
think it was 5 he finished with. At the very least, it was 4. Um, but not enough. And then
Mhm.
Jeff Teat finished was at I think 64 points, or maybe it was 62.
Not
So
bad.
breaks the previous single season record by 18 in the same number of games.
Okay.
Yeah, not bad, not bad. Still finished with 6 points in this one, out of the 12 that his team scored.
Hmm.
So definitely, more teams got to do whatever the Cannons did to slow him down in Fairfield, because that attacking unit is still very scary. But with that, that means the Cannons and Atlas finished with the same record, but the Atlas have a better goal differential. They finished with plus 27. The Cannons have plus 11. So the Atlas still win the East, which again, we've both said plenty of times we're all right with, because that means we get to
Yeah.
see them, and the Atlas have now 3 weeks off before their next game, and that is tough to stay ready and locked in and focused. Although it does obviously give you some extra time for Schallenberger and anyone else who's nursing an injury. Um,
Right.
and then final week, this is the game. Obviously I was excited for the Cannons game, but this game was the game that I was most excited about, just because there's so much on the line. Is our buddies, the Rough Riders and the Outlaws, taking on the Archers, and the winner of that game wins the Western Conference. I think we were all, especially you remember what happened the first time those two teams played. the Archers were up 14-7, and then Brennan O'Neill puts all of
Mm,
Colorado on his back with I
that's
think it was
right.
30 points in the fourth quarter. No, it was nine. To force overtime and then wins it in overtime.
Wow.
Yeah, this game was the complete opposite. Brennan O'Neill had no points on like 15 shots. It was he's been so
Hot
frustrating
and
to
cold.
watch. Yeah, let me look up.
Even in college, I think he was like that though. I think that's just him.
Yeah,
He his ceiling is higher than anyone
yeah,
else's ceiling.
9 points in a
The thing
quarter.
is that he just can't always hit his ceiling.
Yeah, I want to look up how many points he has in the season, and then um, if we take that one game out of it, because I think he only finished with like 30 points.
Okay.
Um, so stats, Brennan O'Neill had 29 points in the season.
Yep.
Nine of them came in that one game. So
So
a third of his points were in that one
wow.
first game against the Archers.
So he had 20 in 9 games.
Yeah. And
That's
he had zero
I mean,
twice.
that's 2 points a game. That's not number one draft pick, best
Yeah.
player on the planet
Yeah.
level,
Right. Jeff Teat averaged 6 points a game.
which is ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean, Jeff Teat's also not a rookie, like to be fair.
Yeah,
But both of them played for their national teams in college. Yeah.
yeah.
It isn't fair to like he's not been bad, but
No, no. I mean, he's 2 points a game is like you're helping the team.
yeah, but I think Bundy had a much better year than he did.
I agree.
A lot more
Yeah.
consistent at the very least. And maybe up top of the midfield, he's able to shoot twos a little bit more easily. But
Hmm.
there's no reason Brennan O'Neill couldn't have had, 4 or 5 twos as well. I think he just finished with one.
Yeah.
Um, oh, just talking about the number of Brennan O'Neill shots, worth noting. I don't know if you saw how many posts the Cannons hit in their game.
I saw.
It
I
was,
didn't see many of them, but I saw the stat and heard about it.
yeah, I think the
Um,
final total was 12. It was double digits for
jeez.
sure. Um, yeah, which like part of it is all right because you win the run out, you get some resets on the shot clock, you tire out the defense, especially once Rowlett and Reardon went down.
True.
But if like two or three, like obviously if one of them goes in, you don't go to overtime at all. If
Hmm.
three of them go in, you win that game comfortably. So I don't know if the PLL can make the goals 6-1 by 6-1 for the next game. Um, no, I mean,
Oh,
that's a pretty remarkable performance to have like I think it was like 55 shots or something, and 1 out of 5 are posts is
wow.
not a stat you're likely to see again anytime soon.
No.
Yeah, so that is something that is a little worrying that even after the probably the arguably the Chaos's two best players, at least on defense, go down, the game still goes to overtime, but you're not hitting a dozen posts in
I don't
consecutive
think
games.
so.
No, some of those
No.
shots are falling.
Yeah.
Um,
So yeah, that'll be interesting to see.
yeah,
But we'll have a whole nother
yeah,
episode to dive into that rematch and preview that game and the rest of the playoffs. Really, I guess we could briefly
yeah,
mention the how final standings. East you got Atlas number one. In the
yep,
West, you got the Archers number one, technically number two, technically number four overall,
yeah.
but
In
they
record.
get number two because they're the best team in the West. We don't need to dive into it. Maybe it's a good bye week topic, but just how much better the East was than the West this year, except for the Water Dogs.
Yep,
Um, but interesting. So that they will not reseed after the quarterfinals. I saw that because the Cannons are three, playing Carolina number six, and the
yep.
winner of that is guaranteed to play number two,
The Archers.
Utah. So
Yeah,
even if, knock on wood, but like if number six, I'm not even gonna say if number six advances, they still play two instead of one.
yeah,
Think that's kind of weird that they're so that the PLL is so
Yeah.
insistent on having the overall standing instead of just doing top three in the East and top three in the West. But then they're gonna pigeonhole the the matchups instead of giving number one the low seed and number two the high seed.
Yeah,
But
especially because
again,
travel isn't a concern. Like
yeah,
every team is playing at the same venue on the same day.
right. So it's like it doesn't matter. But
Yeah, whatever.
maybe next year, off-season topic, bye-week topic, whatever. We don't need to dive into that.
Yeah.
And then on the other side,
We got
number 4, Maryland, number 5, Denver will play. Winner faces number 1, New York.
yep. So
So
yeah, we'll do predictions later. I mean, obviously I'm taking the Cannons. It's hard not
yep,
to take the Whips. If somehow the Chaos beat the Cannons, they're for sure beating the Archers. Like they've just had their number all year.
yeah.
Um,
I don't want.
then
I don't even. No,
no,
don't even. We're not doing predictions,
no, we're
but
not.
yeah. So it's we're not even gonna entertain something terrible like that happening. Cannons all the way. Book
Absolutely.
it. Boom,
Yep.
baby. Let's go. Wrap it up.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully it's three comfortable wins in the month of September. And we all got to, I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Um.
yeah, we'll be back on Thursday for a conversation of some kind. Whether it's just with us or with a third or fourth person is yet to be determined. But um, yeah, that's our we call it, it's week 10, week 11, including the All-Star game,
Week
whatever. That's our final
week
week of the
11.
regular season.
Yep.
Cannons got the OT win. They will be back on the Champ Series in February. They will be playing the Chaos on Labor Day. Um, we hope we see you in the crowd for that game. But before that, we'll definitely see you on Thursday.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
More details to come on what'll happen at the quarterfinals. We will definitely be there.
yep, we'll
Hope
have our
that you
section.
will be there. More details on where we will be, what we will be doing, all that kind of stuff coming soon. So stay tuned to Instagram to find out those details as well.
Yes, and we will certainly mention them all on here once we know. So
Yes.
we'll see you in September and we will see you on Thursday. And so until then, go Cannons.
Go Cannons.
Boom.
Boom.